To all the geeks and nerds, welcome to version 2.0 of my brand new 1.14 Wither skeleton farm. And as you can see, we've got quite a lot of these guys in here. So let's take a look at this farm and I'll show you how to build it. And before we do the block by block tutorial and explain how this works, let's have a little tour of all the bits and pieces. And yeah, you can see the farm in full action. So here is my player underneath. Swiping away at these wither skeletons, grabbing their skulls, and obviously this player has got a looting 3 sword to make sure we maximise our wither skeleton drops. But as that happens, you can see here are all the wither skeletons falling down. So let me show you how this works. So up here we have 3 platforms for these mobs to spawn on. And we'll talk about the details of this in a second, but the basic idea is that each of these floors is the same, and what happens is inside here we have these platforms with covered in wither roses, and what happens is all of the mobs from the fortress will spawn in here. The ones that are not a wither will die because of these wither roses. The withers are not affected by wither roses, but all these other ones you can see are all taking damage and they will die. And the wither skeletons, they end up spawning in here, and on this side of the platform we have a number of dogs, because wither skeletons are scared of dogs, and that scares all the wither skeletons to go into this half of the platform right over here. And once they're over here, they can see this Iron Golem, which is right over here, and they are attracted to him, and so they walk over to him because they want to kill him. There they go, look, there they are. They walk over to him, and we've got these trapdoors, so they think they can reach him, but they can't. And they try and walk across these trapdoors, but of course they fall down, and all of these 3 layers are all exactly the same. They fall down, they get to this piece of lava right here, which slows them down, so no matter what platform they've come to, they all land in this lava and then drop from here, all from the same height, which means when they get down to this bottom section around here, they are all a 1-hit kill. So they've all got one point of damage left, 1 hit point left to kill them. Now down here we've got a couple of options. We can kill them with our sword, like we have here with our player. The other option is, which is a new change 1.14, is we can also use dogs to kill these wither skeletons, because dogs now, if they kill a wither skeleton, there's a chance for a skull to drop. So if I come over to here and I flip this lever, let's just go over here, flip this lever like this, you'll see the dogs come over, and now they are killing these wither skeletons, and we are getting their drops, which is absolutely fantastic. Now in terms of rates, let's have a quick look at this thing. So down here I've got some numbers for you. So here on the left hand side, this is what happens if you use a dog, if you're AFK. So dogs won't have the looting effect, and so their numbers are much less. But in my testing, I've got around 88 skulls per hour, which is not massive, but not bad for just AFKing and letting some dogs do the work for you. And over on the right hand side, we've got the numbers for a player with a looting 3 sword. So in an hour, you'll get about 332 skulls per hour, around 8,000 coal and around 13,000 bones, which is pretty good. And of course, using both these 2 methods, you'll get the XP generated from all of the kills. Now with this farm, yeah, I'm not saying that this is the easiest to build in the world, and I'm not saying it's most efficient either, but I thought I'd challenge myself to see if I could build a farm using some 1.14 mechanics and to see what was possible. Alright, so let's get into this. Let's talk about each part of this in detail and show you how to build it. It should come as no surprise that we need to come on over to the Nether and find ourselves a Nether fortress, because this is where wither skeletons spawn. And in particular, we are looking for this part of the fortress. This is called an intersection. So this is an open air crossroads, and that is important for our farm, which we'll talk about shortly. Now I've got a mod installed that allows us to see how this fortress is put together. So if I turn that on, you can see this. First of all, this big red box. This is the bounding box of the whole fortress. So we can follow this along. So you can see here the fortress comes up to this point. So that's the edge of this side. And over here, if I scoot on over where this line is, you can see that down there we've got some more of the fortress just there. So this is this big box is showing us the bounding box of the whole fortress. Now the other thing with this mod we can see is how this fortress is actually made up of all the different sections. So if I press this button, there we go, we can see all these different cubes and rectangles. This shows all the different sections that make up a fortress. So here we have like an ending, here we have a walkway, and this part we're talking about here is our intersection, and you can see just how big this is. So it's actually pretty big, and that is 19 by 19, and this is where our platforms are going to be. Now, when you come to find your fortress, it's worth spending a bit of time to find a fortress, because the next part I'm going to talk about is going to be the hardest part of all. And that is conditioning the area. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, we mean doing things to the surrounding area to make sure that mobs can only spawn inside our farm. If mobs can spawn outside of our farm, then that is going to affect our rates, and that is no good. So what you can do is, first of all, try and find a fortress like this one in a good location where there is minimal blocks around it for mobs to spawn on in the first place, and that will reduce the amount of work you need to do. So what can you do to stop mob spawning? Well, you find your platforms where mobs can spawn, like these over here, and you can, first of all, you can put down some blocks on top of it that are non-spawnable, like you can put down some slabs, that kind of thing. You can also put down buttons as another option. And of course, the other thing is this stuff, the hot stuff, lava, because mobs will not spawn in that. So you can put down that to cover up the platforms. So that will stop mobs from spawning. The other thing is, of course, you can remove blocks. So you can go through all of these blocks and remove them so no mobs can spawn. Now, the next question is, how many of these blocks do you need to remove? Well, you need to remove blocks that are within a radius of 128 blocks of the player from the AFK spot down there. So that's in a sphere around the player. So our AFK spot is going to be down here at about level 30. Now I've got a data pack that I've created that allows us to see that. So let me get that loaded up and you can take a look. Around us, we can now see a whole bunch of glowing armor stands, and these are part of the data pack that I created, and these show us the spawning sphere around the player. So all of the blocks inside this sphere, you can see the kind of curvature of it here. All the blocks inside here need to be dealt with in one way or the other, either removed or covered in a non-spawnable block. So you need to do that for all the way around the farm. So as you can see, this is the kind of size we're talking about. It's pretty big. So yeah, it's you're going to do yourself a favor if you can find yourself a fortress with the fewer blocks as possible around it. Now, as this is a tutorial, I'm going to cheat a bit and I'm going to clear this whole area out with a command. But before I do that, it's important to take a note of the center point of your intersection. So here it is right here, and this floor level right here, this gold block, the coordinates of this are very important. So it's worth noting these down. So let's take a look at this. If we look at the looking at block over there on the left, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 66, 1419. So take a note of your coordinates of the center of your intersection. That's going to be important later on. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run a command from my data pack. The link will be in the description. This is the same data pack that we have our spawning sphere. So we need to show our chunk boundaries first of all. Here it is. And we need to go to the northwest corner of our chunk. So this is northwest, you can see here. And this chunk is the one that contains the center of our intersection. And we just stand in this corner over here like this, and we run a quick function. So we have to run function logical perimeter clear, press enter. And you can see at the top of the screen, we now have a progress bar going along, and that is creating a perimeter that's removing all the blocks around this farm, around this intersection. So we'll have a good place to build our farm. And with that, all of the blocks surrounding this intersection have now been removed, and we now have perfect conditions to build our farm. So let's talk about the next thing, which is where wither skeletons spawn. So here we have our gold block, which is the center of our intersection, as we saw before. And I've just laid out some other blocks here to do a quick demonstration. So if we use our mod again, we can show this different sections of our fortress like this. So here is our intersection right here, and you can see the other parts of our fortress with these other red bounding boxes right here. Now, wither skeletons will spawn on any block inside one of these sections that make up the fortress. So you can see them all here. Any block at all, a wither skeleton will spawn. Now, wither skeletons will also spawn on nether brick, this block right here, as long as it's inside the whole bounding box of the fortress. So remember, we saw that big old box before. So yeah, nether brick there. So here, for example, this yellow concrete right here, wither skeletons will not spawn in this because it's obviously not nether brick and it's outside of the structural blocks of the fortress. So I thought I'd do a quick demonstration, a quick test to prove it. So over here, I've got a couple of command blocks, and what they do is they will, if a wither skeleton spawns, they will put a diamond block underneath it so we can see where they spawn, and then they'll kill every single mob. So if we set this running, we can see exactly where wither skeletons do in fact spawn. And with the game sped up, we can see exactly where these wither skeletons are spawning. The diamond blocks are growing. So yeah, let's take a closer look and make sure that this has all happened as expected. Here we're looking at the full bounding box of the entire fortress, and you can see, as expected, that no wither skeletons have spawned on the outside of our fortress, which is good news even on this nether brick. And you can see that on the inside, here we are, you can see lots of diamond blocks. That means that lots of wither skeletons have spawned on this nether brick. Now we can also see, as expected, that we've got lots of diamond blocks here where our fortress sections are. So let's just have a look at those. There we go. So there is our intersection, and you can see lots of diamond blocks here as expected, and you can see likewise on these walkways, we've got some diamond blocks here and also over here. And this, as expected, this yellow concrete right here, this is not inside one of the structural areas. And and it's not nether brick, and so there's no wither skeleton spawning in here at all. So that's all important because we need to use grass or dirt as the platforms, because that's what wither roses can go on. All right, so with that testing out of the way, let's get building this farm. The first step is to build our spawning platforms, and we've seen from our testing that a wither skeleton can spawn on any block inside the intersection, but we also need to make sure we use a block that a wither rose can be planted on. So you can use either a grass block, podzol, coarse dirt or dirt. So any of those blocks will do, just pick your fancy. And what you need to do now is build 3 platforms. Now each of these platforms is 19 by 19. And you can see in the center here is our gold block we've used before. This is the center of our intersection at feet level. And yeah, so it's 19 by 19 with that in the center. And then you need to create a platform above it with 3 air blocks in between, and a platform below it again with 3 air blocks in between. So that's enough space for a wither skeleton to spawn. And you can see here, we've got wither skeletons at all 3 levels. Now, the other thing you'll notice is there's obviously lots of mobs here. And if you're building this thing in survival, you're going to get pestered by them, and it's going to be pretty tough. So I recommend, as you're building these platforms, is to stick down a block that's non-spawnable, so something like carpet or buttons, that kind of thing. So then once we've finished building the farm and we place down the wither roses, we'll remove these blocks and then the mobs will start coming in. But at least it'll be peaceful as you're building your farm up. For the remainder of the tutorial, I've turned off mob spawning just to make it easier to see what's going on. But the next step is to extend all of your platforms a bit larger. So you need to use nether bricks, this block right here. We'll talk about why shortly. But you need to extend it by 5 blocks in all directions. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can see that's gone round all the way around all 4 sides. And you need to do that for all 3 platforms like I've done here. Now the exception is that you need to leave a gap at the front. On the top level, you need to leave a gap of 3 blocks. At the center, also 3 blocks. And at the bottom, a 7 wide gap. Now the reason for this is because this is where our wither skeletons are going to fall down. But at the bottom, we're going to have our lava underneath. And if lava is too close to some blocks like these, they will catch fire, and we don't want that to happen. Now, once you've extended your platforms using nether bricks with 5 blocks all the way around, you need to cover them all with carpets, because we don't want to have any mobs spawning on these at all. So cover them with carpets and leave the carpets right there. And the reason for that is because we are going to use pack spawning to increase our rates. What is pack spawning, I hear you ask? Well, that is what the game does to try and spawn mobs into groups. So for a more detailed explanation, check out episode number 10 of Dissecting Minecraft, where we go through this in much more detail. But the general gist is that the game will pick a block at random, let's say this one right here, and it will select a mob that's eligible to spawn here. So in this case, a wither skeleton. And what it does then is it tries to spawn an additional 3 mobs to create the pack. And how it does that is it will pick a random number between 1 and 5, and it will move out in a Z or X direction. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 in this case, and then it'll do the same thing in the other direction. So 1, 2, 3, let's say, and spawn a mob here. It will then do that 2 more times to get a total pack of 4. There we go. And that will be just random in those locations. So we can take advantage of this to increase the number of wither skeletons we get inside our farm on these grass platforms. So we've extended our platforms using nether bricks right here. So wither skeletons are eligible to spawn here. So let's say the game picks this location to spawn a wither skeleton. The carpets will stop this mob from actually spawning, but it won't stop the pack algorithm from continuing. So what will happen here is we'll take another random number. So 1, 2, 3, for example, right here. And then we could go out to this direction to over here, and then over here to this one. So in this case, the initial pack started to spawn outside of our farm. That mob won't spawn, but because the pack continued, these 3 mobs will spawn inside. Now, if we didn't have this extended platform, then this pack wouldn't have started in the first place, and we would have lost out on these 3 mobs. So by extending our platform, we get more wither skeletons spawning, and of course, that ends up with more wither skulls. The next thing to do is to build a wall all the way around our spawning platforms to keep our mobs enclosed, and you build it on top of the first nether brick right here, and the wall needs to be 3 high. So do this on all 3 platforms all the way around. The only exception to that is at the front, where we've got these gaps in our nether brick. The wall here needs to actually be 2 high. So you can see we've done that to leave this gap right here, and that enables the wither skeletons to see our golem, who is going to be positioned right over here. Once you've added the walls all the way around on all 3 levels, make sure you've left a gap of 3 wide at the front, and this will enable the wither skeletons to run out. And then on the very top, on top of your walls, add a bottom slab roof just like this. We use bottom slabs because we don't want mobs spawning on top, and also we need to make sure we still have a 3 high gap here for mobs to spawn in. And the reason for the roof is to keep our magma cubes inside here. We don't want them jumping out and causing havoc, and also this keeps them in contact with wither roses for as much as possible, which means they get killed as quickly as possible. Next up, let's talk about how we're going to control where our wither skeletons go. And yeah, first of all, this guy, man's best friend, our dogs. And this is how we're going to have them set up in our farm. We're going to have a block on the floor with a slab on top, and then the dog will be sitting down on top of that slab. And we're going to surround them with these trapdoors, and that's to keep them safe from magma cubes that might be bouncing around because we don't want them nudged off of their perch. All right, so with the dog in this position, these red blocks around it here, this is the zone that a wither skeleton will be scared. So if I stick one down here, for example, he'll run off. Likewise, right over here, and even on like one of these red blocks right here on the edge, he'll run away straight away. But if I stick one on this black block, for example, he'll just stand around and not be too bothered at all. All right, so with that in place, let's talk about the next thing, which is the Iron Golem. And here is an Iron Golem all caged up and locked away, ready for our next test. And underneath that, I've got a couple of command blocks, and that's just to kill any wither skeletons that might come close to him. So over here, we have this green and red area, and this is a 19 by 19, and this simulates the same size as our spawning platform. So if a wither skeleton ends up in this green area, then they are close enough to the golem to get aggro, and they will run over towards him. Anywhere in the red area, then that's no good. They'll just stand around and not do very much. So let me show you. If I stick one down here, he'll just stand around. Likewise, if I put one over on the green, he'll go running over to the golem. There we go. So of course, the aim of our farm is to get our wither skeletons from this red area into this green area. So even if I stick a few down here on the boundary, you'll see that they go running over to that golem. All right, so the next thing then is, how are we going to place our dogs to encourage our wither skeletons to this half of the farm? Here is a 19 by 19 spawning platform, and you can see I've got the red and the green areas as before, and I've placed down blocks here of where our dogs are going to go, and I've tried to show you that for each one where their zone of scare is, their scare zone if you like. So for example, this dog is going to be right here, he's going to be just outside the platform, and you can see that his zone goes around here and covers this area. And we've got another dog here in the corner, and there's his area that goes around there. And you can see that with all of these 5 dogs, it covers this whole red area in total. And so if a wither skeleton spawns over here in this half, they'll be scared all the time, and they'll keep running around trying to get away from these dogs. And eventually they'll find their way over to this green area, and that's when they track the Iron Golem and run over to him. Now we're inside the farm for one of the platforms, so let me show you exactly where these dogs should go. And of course you need to copy this for all 3 platforms. So the first of all, the easy ones. So in the back corners, you need to put a block down with a slab on top, and that's where your dog is going to go, right in there. Likewise, the other back corner right there. And then the one in the center. So this is the very center block, so you can line that up with the center of our 3 wide gap at the back. And from the back of the farm, we have to leave 4 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you go, 4 blocks there. Again, a block with a slab on top, that's where our dog is going to go. And then on the side, same on both sides, it's 8 blocks from the back of the farm. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 right here. So leave the glass block here and then put a slab on top, and our dog is going to sit right here. And then just above it, you need to knock out these 4 blocks with slabs on top, and that's so to give when the wither skeletons are over here, they can still see the dog. Likewise, when they're in this corner right here, they don't get stuck. And once you've got your dogs in place on all of these slabs, you need to add some trapdoors around them to protect them from the magma slimes. So there and there and all the way around for all of these dogs, and do it on all 3 platforms. Now that our dogs are in position, it's time to get the golems into place. But before I do, I should mention that if you have a block underneath the dogs, so obviously our dogs are sitting on this slab right here, but if you have a block underneath, like this one right here in the center, and also these 2 in the corners, then make sure it's a glass block, because if you have solid blocks at feet level inside a farm, it will interfere with the spawning algorithm. All right, let's have a look at the golems and get them into place. And so here at the front of the farm, where we left our 3 wide gap between our glass walls, we need to add some iron bars here and over here. And that is here, so when the wither skeletons come running across and try and get to the golem, it gives them a bit more space to get through, because if you have just a 1 wide hole, then they tend to get stuck and group up, and they can't make it. All right, so once you've done that, the next thing to do here is on the edge of our spawning platform here, add an extra nether brick right here and right here underneath the iron bars, and then add a grass block right here in between. Then once you've done that, add a trapdoor on top of the grass block, and then over here, leave a gap and have 3 solid blocks right over here, and then with another trapdoor right here. So when you close these trapdoors like this, they should link up just like that. And then at the back of these solid blocks, add some iron bars just like that. And then behind the center one, add an enchantment table. And that should be at the same level as our spawning platforms, just like that. All right, and now it's time to get our golem into place and build the cage around him. So on top of these iron bars, add another 2 levels. So we should have a 3x3 of iron bars, and then we can spawn our golem right on top of this enchantment table. So we have a T shape of like that, and then with a carved pumpkin on the top. There he is. And now we need to get our iron bars and just enclose him in his little cage where he's not going to leave, I'm afraid. There he is. All right, so then extend this cage all the way around him, all 3 levels, so we should have him totally enclosed and he cannot escape whatsoever. And with our golem in his cage, it's now to finish this off. So what we need to do now is to add 3 more solid blocks on top of these that we've already placed down, and then another 3 on top of that, and then add a trapdoor on the top one in the center and open it up. And then we need to have another 4 blocks on the side. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Likewise on this side. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now these blocks are here to make sure that any skeletons that spawn over here can't see this golem and don't try and shoot him. And yeah, this works because the Iron Golem's eyesight is just at the right level. If I press F3 and B to get the hitbox up, like that, we can now see that red line is his eyesight. That's what you can see, and it's just above, just peeking out over here. Now if I am with a skeleton, they are 3 blocks high, so they're up here slightly. That's a little bit high, but you get the idea. They can see his eyesight quite easily, so when they're in the farm, they don't have any problem seeing that red line. Now if I'm with a skeleton and I'm down a bit lower, I'm sort of down about here, roughly about here, I can't see that red line, and so yeah, I can't shoot him, and he is safe and won't get shot. And to finish this off, we need to add some brick walls. So we add them next to these trapdoors right here, 2 here, and then 2 on this side as well. And then extend this up by another 2 high on top. So we get 3 high in total, likewise here as well. And that is going to be the start of our chute that's going to enclose our wither skeletons as they fall down. So of course you need to do this for all 3 levels. So then we'll have 3 iron golems at all 3 levels with all of this drop chute and trapdoors all in place as well. And with all 3 golems added, it should look something like this. I've also added a roof on top of this top golem here, just because I feel like it looks a bit neater. I don't think it's actually all that necessary. But yeah, if you look at all these 3, they're all in place exactly the same. And you can see we've got this gap in between, so their eyesight is always visible to the wither skeletons that are going to be in our platform. Now, the next thing to do is to add some lava underneath, and that is to make sure that all of the wither skeletons, no matter which platform they come from, will all have the same distance to fall from here. So what we do here is we add 2 more walls down here, 1 here and 1 here, and then add a couple of extra glass blocks down here, 2 this side and 2 on this side. And then on the bottom one, add a sign on this side and another sign on this side right here, like that. And then get some lava and place that above the sign on each side, 1 there and 1 on there. The next thing to do is to construct our drop chute. So from here we need to go down a further 21 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down for 21 blocks. So do that both sides on the glass this side, glass on this side as well, and also follow down with your walls on both sides as well. And now that we've extended our drop chute, let's finish it off with the killing area. So to do that, we can add a few more glass blocks here. So a couple here on this side and a couple here down like that. And then add a solid block underneath this one, right like that. And then let's come around here and get our slabs and add a couple of bottom slabs onto the solid block, just like that. And then a couple more slabs on the inside. So they should line up with the drop chute itself. So that's where the wither skeletons will actually land. And now we can get some walls and extend this down on the front. So that gives us a little gap here so we can hit our wither skeletons on the feet. And then underneath on the other side, let's put down some more walls just like that. All right, now on the other side, let's copy what we did on the other side. So we put down a couple of glass blocks here and a couple here, just like that. And we are ready to do the killing mechanism. But before we do that, I thought I'd give it a quick test. So I've just enabled mob spawning again, and you can see that the wither skeletons are already falling down here. All right, so let's take a look at the health of these wither skeletons. So we can do that by doing the following command. So if I was to run data get entity, and then we'll pick one of these at random. And now if we look at here, we look down here, we've got this health right here. If you can see, it says health 1.0. So that means there's one hit point of health. That's half a heart. So if I was to just tap these guys, they should die. There we go, just with a glass block. There we are. All right, so we know we've done that all correctly. So now we can get the dogs in place. Next up, let's add some item collection. So on these front two slabs, add a couple of hoppers pointing straight down. And then behind those two, under these slabs, add two more hoppers pointing into those. And then behind those, add two hoppers pointing into those, just like that. So we should have 6 hoppers in total, like that. And then on the side here, add 2 hoppers pointing into these two, just like that. And then another 2 hoppers pointing to these two, just like that. And then underneath, we need to add a double chest onto these front hoppers that are pointing downwards, just like that. And then for a bit of extra unload speed, let's add 2 more hoppers pointing into the back of this double chest, like that. This chest underneath is enough to get you started, but you probably want to have a bigger storage system, maybe some more chests, maybe some shulker box loaders, that kind of thing. But I'll leave that up to you for what you want to do. And then just at the same level as that chest, I've added this floor here. So this is where you can stand and you get a good level to hit the feet of the wither skeletons. All right, so let's make a start on the dog system over here. So what I've done here is I've added a lamp just at the same level as our solid block on this side of the slabs with a lever on front of it. And then behind these hoppers, I've added 4 solid blocks here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 with another block up like that. And that's the same on both sides. And then on top of these, I've added some rails. So a powered rail next to the lamp, then a normal rail, then 2 powered rails, a normal rail, and a powered rail over here, and the same on this side as well. And then we just add a couple of redstone blocks, and these should power these back to powered rails like this, so they don't interfere with the hoppers at the front. And now it's time for the redstone. So let's wire up this rail first. So underneath the lamp, we need to have an observer facing upwards, facing that lamp. And so when the lamp turns on or off, the observer will see that lamp and it will power this block underneath. That will then power this sticky piston. That's a sticky piston right there with a redstone block in front. So when that extends, this redstone block will end up here, powering this piece of redstone right here. And then this has got 3 more blocks here, 1, 2, and 3, with another block up and a redstone torch on top. So the idea here is that only one of these end powered rails will be powered at any one time. So in this case, the back one is powered, this one is not. And when we power the lamp, this front one is now powered and the back one isn't. Next up, let's wire up this back powered rail, and this should be powered at the same time as this one right here. So the easy way to do that is to add 2 solid blocks next to this redstone torch like that, with a couple of redstone dust on top and another one on top of this block right here. So now whenever this powered rail is powered, that one at the back should also be. So let's give it a quick test. Let's flip this lever like that. And now you can see this one is powered and so is this one. And now to wire up this front powered rail, we need to add 7 more blocks from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we need to add some redstone here. So 1 and 2, add another block here with a redstone torch behind it, and then add 3 more redstone dust under here. So 1, 2, and 3. So that means that this powered rail is now the opposite of this powered rail right here. Then get yourself some carpets and put 1 on here, a couple on these redstone blocks, and 1 on this block right here. That's to stop any mobs spawning down here as we're working and killing away at these wither skeletons. Next up, get your minecarts in place with a couple of tamed dogs inside as well, and then put them over in this position, just over here. And then you can start adding some walls around here just to keep them nice and safe. So solid blocks around each side. This one's already got it, and then some glass blocks on the top, just like that. And that will keep them nicely enclosed and safe and sound. And there we have it. Our dogs are in place, ready to go, and we are almost done. Let's give this a quick little test. So flipping this lever should take the dogs away, just like that, which is great. That means we can hit the wither skeletons with our sword and get the looting effect. Now if we flip this lever again, the dogs come back in. Now we can go to AFK mode and let these dogs do their job. All right, so it's important that this drop chute is just the right height, because if the wither skeleton has enough health and a dog attacks it and the wither skeleton doesn't die, then it will fight back and it will try and attack these dogs. And of course, then you might lose your dog over time, and we don't want to lose our pooches. We need to look after them. Yeah, so just double check and make sure that your drop chute is just the right height. Now we're almost done. A couple of more jobs to do, so let's finish this thing off. Here we have a turtle egg, and zombies and zombie pigmen, they don't like them very much and they want to stomp them. And yeah, the zombie pigmen have a magic power. Even though they can't see the turtle egg because it's right in there, they can still go after it and they can detect it. And here he goes. He wants to stomp on it. So there we go. If we stick a few more down here, you'll see that these zombie pigmen all go running towards that egg. Now we can use that to our advantage, because what we can do now is we can add a few of these turtle eggs around the farm, and that keeps these pigmen away from the drop chute so they don't get pushed in and accidentally end up in a drop chute and get in the way. And so come on up to your platforms, and on each one we can add a turtle egg on the outside. So it doesn't matter exactly where you put it, but where I do it is 7 blocks from the front here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So take away this carpet, stick a turtle egg down there. Do the same on the other side and also on the other platform. So we should have 6 turtle eggs in total. And then we can add the wither roses. We are over here in the end because we're going to need quite a few wither roses, and yeah, this is an example of a wither rose farm. This has been created by Ray Works, and I've just built it up here in this world. There'll be a link in the description to the full video, but the idea is we have some endermen that can spawn here. They're attracted to an endermite that's in this minecart, and then they fall down into this hole right here, and then we have a wither that's trapped in this end gateway, and of course he will then shoot these endermen, and when they die from a wither there is a chance of getting a wither rose, and so we have some hoppers underneath. And the wither roses will then get captured into this chest, and then we can use them in our farm. And now we have a bunch of wither roses. We can plant them on all of the blocks inside our farm, on all these grass blocks all the way around. So make sure every single block is covered with wither roses, including this one right here, just to make sure we get that extra bit of damage. Now the reason we have these wither roses in here is to kill off all the other mobs, to free up the mob cap, and then more wither skeletons can spawn. All right, so yeah, just got to do this on all of the platforms, get all these wither roses in place, and then we are done. And so here it is, the final 1.14 wither skeleton farm, and you can see them falling down to their doom to meet the dogs. There they go, a whole bunch of them. So here we are. Here is the farm, as you've seen. This is powered by some dogs in here to scare the wither skeletons, some wither roses to kill the other mobs and free up the mob cap. We even got some turtle eggs to keep the zombie pigmen out of the way, and of course we've got the iron golems over here to attract the wither skeletons, and yeah, so they can meet their doom in this drop chute. And then down the bottom here we have some dogs, man's best friend, and they're doing the work for us and collecting those wither skulls. All right, let's have a look. Have we got any in here? Yep, we've got a few already. I only just turned this farm on a little while ago. All right, and with the release of 1.14, this is all working. And just to show you, we are currently in the latest release, 1.14. So this thing is all working, and yeah, really good stuff. And so I hope you found that useful, and I challenge you to build this in survival. I'm definitely going to do that myself in my own world once I've upgraded, so that is something on my to-do list, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Alright, there will be a world download in the description if you want to download this thing and check it out in a bit more detail. And yeah, if you found this useful, then please hit the like button, and if you are new, then feel free to subscribe. And if you've got any comments or suggestions, then get it in that comment section. And if you do build this, then please let me know how you get on. I'll be very interested to find out. Until next time, my geeks, I will see you later.